Welcome back, Deb Josbeno, staying on track with up and coming clinical research. Deb is going to talk about the SPARX study, returning to Pitt.
Yes, and thank you. So I am going to talk just briefly about the SPARX study. There's actually was a phase 2, and I'll go into a little bit about the phase 3. But the phase 2 study was we called SPARX, and the name stands for Study in Parkinson's Disease of Exercise. And this was an exercise study that mainly looked at exercise intensity. So what we did here is we looked at 128 individuals who were in their early stage of their disease of Parkinson's, and they were not taking dopamine replacement medication yet. And these individuals came in and we did a series of assessments on them, and then we randomized them into one of 3 groups. And it's important to note that this is a really very rigorous design study that we did for this phase 2 study. So here's what we did. We randomized them into either a usual care, an endurance exercise activity on the treadmill that was either a moderate intensity or of high intensity. And what the participants did were they were to exercise 4 times a week for a period of 6 months. And what's really important to note about this slide is that the participants didn't just jump right in and do the treadmill endurance exercise at their intensities right away. We had a ramping up stage for about 8 weeks before they got to their targeted intensity rate. So here are some of the findings, and remember this was a phase 2 study, which means it was a feasibility study. We were really looking to see if it was safe, if the individuals would do it, and if it warranted further investigations. And that is what we found. We found that one of the major findings is that it showed that it was safe to perform high intensity exercise for those participants. The participants adhered to the activity. They actually exercised 3 times a week for 6 months. And another finding is what we found is that high intensity slowed the progression of motor symptoms down enough when compared to usual care to warrant further investigation for efficacy. And this is really important because now we know that we have to go into a phase 3 study to really gain more knowledge about high intensity exercise training. And that's where we are at now. We've been funded to do the SPARX 3, which is a study in Parkinson's disease of exercise phase 3 clinical trial. And what this trial is led by Dr. Daniel Korkus from Northwestern University, and the University of Pittsburgh is a participating site. And this study is really to further gain additional knowledge that we really need to know about when looking at high intensity training. So what we're looking at is a research study to learn more about the effects of aerobic exercise on people with Parkinson's disease who have not yet started medication for their Parkinson's disease. We're also, the SPARX 3 will also be comparing the effects of moderate intensity and high intensity exercise, treadmill exercise, on signs and symptoms of Parkinson's disease. So for this study, the participants that we'll be looking for are between the age of 40 and 80 years old. They've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease less than 3 years ago, and they're not currently taking any Parkinson medications or will be planning on starting Parkinson's disease medications within the next 6 months. They also will be willing and able to participate in moderate to high intensity exercise on a treadmill for 4 times a week for 18 months and participate in study visits up to 24 months. So given the current situations at this time, we're planning to start the study by the end of the year. So right now we're kind of on a hold due to COVID-19. However, as soon as we're able to, we're planning to start the study again by the end of the year, and I'll be contacting David and providing him all the information we need as we move forward. So that's all. That's the information that I have right now.
That's great. Thank you so much, Deb. Like I said, Pitt was a site for the phase 2, and Deb was one of the principal investigators with that. And you know, the results were great enough that it warranted funding for the final phase. You know, we always say that there's nothing fortunate about being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but if you're unfortunate enough to be diagnosed, living in Pittsburgh or in Western PA even, you're very fortunate because there really is world-class medicine here. There's world-class research and, you know, world-class programs. So stay tuned. We'll keep you up on all the updates that are coming down the way. And I guess we're about out of time.